Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we're going to discuss the topic that comes up, well, probably a bit more often now than it used to, and that is German battleships and their need for a little bit of a buff. So, the thing with German battleships currently is that they are extremely outside of the meta. Now, they're still quite a popular line because they are very good at brawling. They are the best in the game at that. But the current meta, especially at high tier, is that brawling is a rare occurrence that doesn't really happen too much anymore. I'm not saying like it never happens. I'm just saying that it really doesn't happen enough anymore to warrant grinding a whole line of ships whose speciality is just brawling, and they aren't very good at much else. I mean, look at the curve first. It's not good at long ranges. Range is only 20 kilometers. And realistically, you can't reliably hit much past 15 kilometers. And you can't really reliably hit targets until you're 10 kilometers and inward. And even then, it's not rare to miss shots at 10 kilometers and in. It's really not. And there's going to be quite a few instances in the clips I'm showing you now where I missed shots that honestly, for a tier 10 battleship, they should have connected. And used to, it wasn't that big of a deal because the Germans were and are still very good at brawling. They can kick the teeth out of any other opponent that they meet when they brawl. Now, the current meta though, which is sit back and burn the crap out of everything. Honestly, that sums up the current meta because all the ships that have been introduced, all the new cruisers, well, maybe, okay, not all of them, but a lot of the new cruisers and destroyers that have been introduced recently are very, 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 very good at vomiting rainbows and rainbows of HE from pretty long ranges for their classes. So, Spalding, 16.6 kilometers, it's just a constant flow of HE, and there's no stopping it. Friesland, Rugamo, Wusta, all these ships are relatively new, and they are very, very good at spewing HE. And the Germans don't really fit in this meta because they can't really perform well at range. From 16 kilometers outward, you're not going to be connecting shots very much. And it's not impossible. They will connect every now and then. But there's also the question of if most of the games are going to be at this range, now why not play something that's a bit better at those ranges, like American battleship, Japanese battleship, French battleship. The Republic's not all that accurate, but boy does it have a nice fire rate. British battleship, so forth and so on. And even the other battleships whose main battery isn't all that great at longer ranges, they have other attributes that help them out in the current meta better than the Germans. The French battleships, their armor is, it's the baguette mystery armor. Who knows? Is it going to eat a shell? Is it going to make the shell disappear? The reworked British tier 10, the Conqueror. It's God. There's not much better flamethrowers than the Conqueror, really. Montana, much better at longer ranges than the Kurfürst. Kremlin, Russian bias, need I say more. And, of course, Yami doesn't really give a crap about armor. If it pins you, you're going to have a bad day. And then there's the Kurfürst. And it's not just the Kurfürst. If you look at the rest of the German battleship line, but they're out of the meta. But, of course, at lower tier, the meta isn't near as similar as higher tier meta. But I still would say ships like, well, the Gneisenau, Bismarck, FDG, they still need a little bit of love. And, of course, this can vary on a ship-by-ship basis. But what would really help the Germans across the board is just a slight buff to dispersion. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of love there. Because, I mean, like I said with the Kurfürst, it's not rare to miss shots from 10 kilometers inward. Now, I'm sorry, but this is me. At tier 10 kilometers of a battleship, you should be nailing your targets. Doesn't matter, German, British, Japanese, Soviet, American, French, whatever. From 10 kilometers inward, you should be nailing your targets in a tier 10 battleship. That should be a zone of death for anyone that gets close to your ship. I mean, it's tier 10. It should be. Now, the Gneiss now, it's a bit more understandable why its dispersion is so wonky, because yes, it has 15-inch guns at tier 7, and they are, Bismarck guns. So it's a bit more understandable, but still, the Gneiss now, I mean, it really needs a little bit of buff to its dispersion too. Again, nothing too crazy, but I mean, it's kind of like why even use the main battery guns if the target isn't 7 kilometers away from you in the Gneiss now. But still, and that would help a lot. And another option that someone has said before is just a complete rework of the line. I wouldn't say that, because brawling in a German battleship is one of the funnest experiences you can have in this game. But the meta has evolved so much so that, there's not much point in playing them. And you still can have fun brawls in Germans. They're not completely outside of the realm of playability right now. But I would argue that if Wargaming keeps going in this how do I put this form of continuing to add HE spamming ships, and all these ships that they've been adding recently, the Ohio, the Thunderer, they're very good at long ranges. The Ohio, maybe not so much so as a Thunderer, but the Ohio is pretty dang good at longer ranges. Granted, it does only have a 20 kilometer range like the Kurfürst, but it's much better at that range than the Kurfürst is. And all these HE spamming ships that are just, again, pushing the engagement ranges out further and further and further. If they keep following that, I think maybe a year, they don't buff the Germans in some way, then they will be completely outside of the realm of viable playability. But I don't think Wargaming will let that happen. But I also wouldn't put it past them to let that happen, given recent events. And I hope it doesn't happen, because the German line, honestly, when I grinded through it, it was one of the funnest experiences I've ever had in this game. And if they would just do these little tweaks to the dispersion of the main battery guns on the German battleship line, honestly, that would be about it. And, I mean, that's all they really need right now, in my opinion. I know a lot of other people saying they need, better fire prevention. They need to be more fireproof, tougher armor. I don't know how you would think German battleships need tougher armor, because that's actually one of their weaknesses, because at range they're easier to pin than other battleships. So the armor's so thick at range, it's still, the shells have more to bite into. So ironically, the thing that makes them good at close range also hinders them at longer range, which again, that's balance, and I've never complained about that. That's part of playing a German battleship, because everyone wants to shoot you because you are literally a damage pinata. And I mean, I'm not talking about a huge, drastic, like, make the main battery guns laser. I'm just saying they just need a little bit of a loving here and there. Maybe crank the Sigma up a little bit, just decrease the dispersion by a little bit. I know someone has said it has to do with the distance in between the guns on the German battleships, which I can understand for some cases of dispersion. But when you have one shell go flying way off to the right and one shell go flying way off to the left when you're shooting at a target that's 12 kilometers away from you, that has nothing to do with the distance in between the guns on the turret. That has to do with RNGesus. So just a little tweak there, and I think that would be all they need for now. And that's not getting into the whole what I think about the current HE spam and the current fire mechanics that I do think need to be overhauled. That's not getting to that. It's a whole nother video that I've explained before. Honestly, I'm going to see what they're going to do with IFHE before I say anything else about that. And they're taking their dear sweet time doing the IFHE rework, which God knows when that's going to drop. I haven't heard anything about it, at least from my end of not being a community contributor. But anyway, guys, that's what I think about German battleships. Just a little tweak there, and I think they'll be good for the foreseeable future. Still one of my favorite lines in the game. Of course, Kurfürst, my favorite tech line ship, and they're still a blast to play. It's just you gotta wait quite a while before they can really hit their stride in game. So it's a little boring right now, but it's also still kind of worth the wait. So that's what I think about that. I hope you all having a wonderful Saturday, and thank you guys for getting us to 5,000 subscribers. It's been an amazing time getting here so quickly, and yeah, thank you. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, drop a like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Hope you're having a wonderful Saturday again, and I'll see you guys in the next one.